watch the video version of podcast on our YouTube channel. The link is in the description and the section about the podcast.
Greetings, viewers and subscribers of my channel. Strange is with you, and today I want to talk to you a little bit. As you may have noticed, the channel's audience is growing. The truth that I find and which I filter, sifting out fictional headlines and facts, is spread by word of mouth. Even some of my neighbors who have never been interested in the subject of UFOs, even they started talking about it. In many ways, this is your merit. There are many people among you who have shared their stories with me. I understand perfectly well that this was not easy for many. After all, not everyone can so easily remember, and even more so tell what happened to them, right? I'm leading this lyrical digression to the fact that people gradually began to come out. Whether they are victims of a collision with aliens or just eyewitnesses of certain incidents, people want to open up to this world, and they also long for the world to open up to them. I can't blame them for that. Just as I don't blame those who decide to take more open steps. In this case, I mean TV and radio broadcasts. Just recently, I was driving to buy groceries at Walmart. The radio station, Radio New York Live, was broadcasting, and there on the air, you won't believe who I heard. It was Mr. Daniels himself. If anyone does not recognize the person I am talking about, then this is one of the instructors of the Flight Academy, where one of the cadets recently died under very mysterious circumstances. That's just, you and I know exactly under which circumstances he died. I'm still replaying the voice of that boy, Stan, in my head. So that time, as soon as I heard the familiar voice of this traitor instructor, I immediately pulled over to the side of the road. I started listening to his interview. I wanted to know why such a person who cooperates with aliens suddenly decided to come on the radio. There are different kinds of madmen nowadays. There are those who follow their own thirst to become famous. There are also those who think that their sins will be forgiven the same hour they confess them. It doesn't work that way. A little later, I did get to the supermarket, and after a while I returned home. Without even laying out my purchases, I immediately rushed to my office. I managed to hack into a simple radio station server and pull out a recording of the broadcast. A friend of mine from the IT department showed me how to do this. It's simple enough. However, I'm sorry, I won't reveal this secret. Nowadays, any information can be more deadly than a lead bullet. In general, I pulled the broadcast recording from the radio station servers, and I want to share it with you so that you can listen to this. Daniels too. God forgive me for saying this. All agents who follow me into my activities, please pay attention to this person. He should be behind bars as a traitor to our homeland. I hope you find this bastard and send him to where he belongs. The broadcast recording will be turned on in 3, 2, 1. So you're saying you've been in contact with aliens? A dry, confident voice sounds. Yes, I did, and more than once. But Mr. Daniels, yes, please forgive me and my memory. So Mr. Daniels, there are a lot of people like you on our airwaves, and not only here. People have all gone crazy lately. Do you really think people are crazy? Isn't it? Everywhere you look, there is talk of aliens, Martians, and other horror. By God, I advise my friends and neighbors to just go to church, talk to the Reverend, confess to him about using illegal substances, and close the subject. Do your friends often listen to you, Mr. Williams? Oh, if you listen, then there would probably be a lot fewer madmen in this world than there are now. But that's not the point. I'm more interested in this. Do you really believe what you're saying? I believe and I know. And if my colleague brings the Bible now, will you be able to swear in the name of the Lord that you will continue to speak only the truth here? If it convinces you, then yes, I'm ready. Well, then that's what we'll do. Oh, I didn't even have to wait long. It's good that the sound specialists are sitting in the room next to us. So, Mr. Daniels? David Daniels Smith, swear here and now on this Bible that I pledge to tell the truth, and nothing but the truth. Well, now I believe you a little more than half, Mr. Daniels. When was the last time you saw aliens? A week ago. According to my agreement with their representative. Stop. Did you say representative? Did they have a representative? Is it a diplomat or straight, a representative? He did not identify himself as a diplomat. By the way, you look like a simple citizen. Only he was wearing a blue tuxedo, black trousers, and long-toed shoes of the same color. He also wore black sunglasses, and his face was decorated with a long scar. A scar, you say? Yes, it is the scar. And he introduced himself to me as Arthur. Ha ha ha. Dot, it's been a long time since anyone made me laugh like that in our studio. Do you realize, Mr. Daniels, how absurd this all sounds? The representative of the aliens, who is not even, as you put it, a diplomat, was dressed in a blue tuxedo, shoes, trousers, and wore glasses. They'd also call him Arthur. Surely not some eldritch Martianess? No, he introduced himself to me as Arthur. And stop laughing, please. I'm talking to you in all seriousness. Oh, Mr. Daniels, I'm sorry. Again, it is not often that people come to our studio for a conversation who claim to have seen and even more so communicated with aliens. More precisely, they come of course, but these charlatans are trying to deceive themselves first of all. Yes, there are such things, and you're not one of them. I swore an oath. That's right. Well, then tell us in more detail what kind of aliens they are and what they wanted from you. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Williams. In general, I'm very glad that I managed to get on the air with you. After all, my story is more of a warning than an attempt to assert myself in anything. The aliens themselves contacted me when I was filling in for one dispatcher at the airfield. The airfield itself was living out its last days. There were almost no planes, unless airline enthusiasts and private owners landed, paid tax for fuel and a restroom, and flew away. In the past, I already had experience working as a dispatcher, although more on military routes, and the experience of piloting our Cobras during the Second World War. In general, I could fly and direct. So that night a voice broke through the crackling static. It sounded like a human timbre, but very distorted. What did the voice tell you, Mr. Daniels? In my headphones, I heard that we are flying in peace. Please do not shoot. I was very surprised at the time, because the radar was clean. And who's going to shoot if the airfield isn't even military? 15 minutes later, our entire small staff, which is 20 people, was standing on the runway. For the first time in our lives, we all saw a real flying saucer. And what was our surprise when a ray of light flashed from the bottom of this aircraft? All of us, my colleagues, and I instinctively covered our eyes with our hands. A little later, when the light stopped shining brightly, we saw a man. As it turns out later, the same Arthur. Its height is quite high. How much will you give me? I think it's 6 feet 8. Wow, it's really quite tall. Was he also dressed as you described earlier? Yes, remarkably, loudspeakers have been placed around the perimeter of the airfield since the Cold War. They were originally designed to alert in the event of a nuclear war. Yes, I remember them. We had them at school in my childhood too. Exactly. And you know what? What? The aliens hacked into our computer network and gained access to these damn loudspeakers. We could hear Arthur's voice all over the airfield, even though he was standing some 40 meters away from us. What did he broadcast through them? The message was as follows. Earthlings, if you want to save your life, you must accept our conditions. From now on, this infrastructure is under our protectorate. This also means that any landing aircraft must be confiscated and their pilots handed over to us. Once a week we will come to you for, how to put it better, patience. Yes, exactly, it is for them. Don't even try to contact someone from your government. We are carefully monitoring all of you. Consider that we are doing you a great honor, Earthlings. My name is Arthur. I am a representative of my people and their voice. Oh yes, I almost forgot. Those who want to show insubordination will face a painful death. And I'm talking about you, young man. We all turned around. One of the trainees, who the Provincial Flight Academy had sent to us, was slowly backing up to one of the hangars. When we all noticed him, the plate rose higher. A kind of man-made tentacle came out of it, and a bright ray of light pierced Michael. As soon as the beam touched his skin, the guy himself flared up like a match. There was no death scream, no sob. Everything happened instantly and quickly. At least that's what it seemed to us. Michael was burning and screaming silently. It lasted a minute, and we all looked on with pity and helplessness as a young guy who perhaps could have a good flying future so simply, but so cruelly dies. It was truly terrible. Fortunately, not a single piece of Michael's body remained. Everything was burned out. Only a black spot remained in the place where he stood. No matter how we tried to wipe it off afterwards, it was all in vain. Who knows, maybe this stain will remain there until the end of time. But whatever it was, it reminded all of us every day that we had signed this ill-fated contract. Like a deal with the devil? Yes, exactly. Of course it's creepy. If everything is as you describe, then it's really terrible. So I'm going to convey this to you that, no, you don't understand.
It's terrible that you let these aliens do this to you. From a legal point of view, you were accomplices in a crime, and also silent. Look, you don't... No, you listen to this, Mr. Daniels. I'll finish first, and then you, okay. I'm glad you agreed. So, this is a kind of high treason. Treason to the motherland, to our beautiful United States. Is this what Abraham Lincoln wanted when he fought in the Civil War against the South? When he united all the states under his banners? What a nightmare. How low has our country fallen, even if the aliens already allow themselves to treat our fellow citizens in this way? How old did you say the guy was? He was about 19, very young. That's right. And what did you try to communicate with the outside world in some way? They didn't even try. None of us wanted to experience the same fate that happened to Michael. I even felt sad already. Why, Mr. Williams? If it weren't for the oath you took, then I would consider everything you said to be the ravings of a madman. But the whole studio is ready to confirm that you put your hand on the Bible and said the oath. Unfortunately, everything was as I say. What stopped you from continuing your cooperation? Am I right to understand that for a while you really helped these alien freaks? Yes, the whole airfield has really accepted its fate. Some people even moved their families there so that none of their relatives would ask unnecessary questions. And so, on one of my shifts at the Flight Academy, my cadet on a Singlinging training aircraft had to land at our ill-fated airfield. Could have sat next to him and enjoyed every moment of our flight. After all, it was clear to me that this was the last exam for the boy. Deep down, I felt like his father. Even though I felt that he disliked me a little, I still enjoyed teaching him pilot skills. We landed at the airfield, and I promised the guy that we would fly a different route in the morning. The Flight Academy trusted me completely. No one could suspect anything was wrong. Moreover, there has not been a single emergency situation under my command yet. Let me guess, did that day change a lot? Exactly. After landing, I left the kid in the cockpit, and I went to the control room to warn Arthur about our arrival. He gave us a special frequency on which we could contact him. 10 minutes later, they arrived. Except Stan, he didn't want to leave. More precisely, he did not want to fly away with them. You know, deep inside me, there was a hope that the guy would survive, that he would be able to break this vicious circle of control, that he would tell the whole world what a black scam we were running all over the airfield. But, you're right, there was one terrible but. Stan crashed, the ship of our. Employers has been emitting a kind of greenish light for a very long time, and it was shining directly at Stan. At first, Stan seemed to want to give up, but at the last moment, he did something that no one expected. He crashed. Apparently, there was fuel left in the plane. And when I say apparently, I know exactly what it is about. After all, Stan managed to tell on the radio that he was running out of fuel. And when it crashed, a few seconds later, the plane exploded. Dear God, what a nightmare. And what happened next? Arthur promised that they would pick me up on their next flight. He didn't say where or why. And the next morning, people in black glasses and suits arrived. They carefully examined the crash site and took away the black box from there. If I remember correctly, is it what flight recorders are called? Yes, that's right. I didn't think that my life could be in danger or that the recording would be made public. You know our government, don't you? It rarely tells its citizens the truth. There is such a thing, I agree. And yet, something bothered you anyway, right? You're right. Excuse me, Mr. Williams, can I have some water? Yes, of course. Here you go. During our conversation, I completely forgot that you should have poured water a long time ago. Thank you. My throat is just dry. So that's where I left off? Oh, yes. The Flight Academy received a letter from Stan's mother. Oh, come on. How did she find out about what happened? Do you know who Strange is? This is the first time I've heard that name. Or is it a surname? A pseudonym. So, I didn't know either. And this guy is clearly in the upper echelons of power. What are you getting at? He released the recording from the flight recorder. It's where Stan and I talked before we landed, and his whole flight after. And I do not know how a simple housewife found this little-known channel on the YouTube platform. But she was very upset about what had happened. So you came to confess. Not only that, I'll feel better if the whole world, or part of it, finds out what really happened. Are you afraid of publicity? No, not at all. I'm just afraid that this Arthur will find me and do something irreparable. And you're not afraid of prison. You know it's better to go to jail than to work for the devil. It didn't bother you before. You can call me a hypocrite, but almost no one knew about it before. Then the boy's mother found out. Then the flight academy began to ask questions. In general, has your conscience finally kicked in? You could say that. Well, your truth. Thank you for meeting me, Mr. Daniels. And to you, Mr. Williams, even if I get killed tomorrow then, you clearly deserve it, Mr. Daniels. At least for the simple reason that 2 guys have already been killed on your ship. By the way, what about the airfield? With the airfield, go and find out for yourself. Maybe you'll find something interesting. You're deaf too? It's quite possible. But that's how lucky you are. I found a life. And it was the Greg Williams Tonight Show. Have a nice evening, America.
Are you probably in the same shock as I was? Please share your opinion and impressions in the comments. And also, subscribe to the channel and send me your stories related to aliens by email. You will find contacts in the About the Channel section. If I haven't answered you, then I'm still checking on you, because the special services of all countries have announced a hunt for me. But together, we will force the authorities to disclose all the information they have. After all, people should know the truth.